Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And today we're going to be looking at all the multicolored artifact and land cards in Aether Revolt.
Yeah, we're gonna evaluate them for limited, so draft or sealed. And in your pre-release pack, you'll get 4 Aether Revolt packs and 2 Kaladesh packs.
Yeah, so by now you should know, this is the last video, so you should know how our tier system works. Tier 1, awesome. Tier 2, a little bit less awesome, still awesome. Tier 3, good filler, awesome. And the rest of the cards, put them aside. Let's jump right in and look at the common cards. The first of our commons is Universal Solvent. For 1 generic mana, we get an artifact that we can sacrifice for 7 mana and tapping it to destroy target permanent. That means any permanent can be destroyed. Well, of course, we are paying 8 mana total for it, which is extremely steep as a price as well. Stefan, what do you think? Do you think it's worth it?
I think it is. I mean, you can destroy anything, but you have to remember you have to have 7 mana to actually activate it. So late game it's really good, but you have to get there. And in limited, you probably will.
Yeah, true. So I think when it comes to removal, then it's a filler card.
Yeah, exactly.
Push comes to shove. Yeah. Also because of course we get the artifacts, we get the enchantments, we get the creatures. It does hit everything. And for that annoying person who pulled a planeswalker.
Exactly.
Next
kills everything.
Exactly. Give us the next card.
Renegade Map. 1 mana artifact. Renegade Map enters the battlefield tapped. And you can tap it and sacrifice Renegade Map. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I really don't like this one. I mean, it's 1 mana, you can tap it, but it comes into tapped first. Then it comes into your hand. Not even on a battlefield. So yeah, it's just a long time you have to wait for your land and it comes into your hand, so put it aside.
Exactly. Next card is Consulate Turret. For 3 generic, we get an artifact that we can tap to give us an energy counter, and we can also tap it and pay 3 energy counter to deal 2 damage to target player. If you would say creature, then we'd be talking, but as it says player, I'm not talking about it anymore, just put it aside.
Exactly. The not creature clause is really important.
Yeah.
So Night Market Guard, 3 mana, 3/1 construct, and Night Market Guard can block an additional creature each combat. So it can block 2 things with a 3 power, but the 1 toughness, it will always die. So for 3 mana, blocking 2 things, I'm not sure if it's worth it, just put it aside.
Exactly. I also don't like this.
Yeah.
If it'd be 2 mana, 3/1, then we're talking.
Exactly.
3 is just too high. Next card, Mobile Garrison. For 3 generic, we get a 3/4 vehicle. So this guy's not a creature yet until we crew it. His crew cost is 2. It also states that whenever this guy attacks, we get to untap another target artifact or creature that we control. So that's pretty cool value, actually. I would say tier 3, decent filler. Crew 2 is very realistic that you're able to get that. Because turn 2, you can put a 2/2. Turn 3, you put this guy down. Turn 4, you're going to have something which you can crew with it. And of course you can attack, give something pseudo-vigilance perhaps, or maybe an artifact that you use to tap to get some kind of value. I can see this guy being a very decent filler.
Yeah, I like that you can actually crew it for free somewhat, because you attack with it, untap the one that crewed this, and then it can block again.
Cool.
So that's nice. So next one, Filigree Crawler. For 4 mana, it's a 2/2 insect. And when Filigree Crawler dies, create a 1/1 colors top the artifact creature token with flying. It's 4 mana, 2/2, and when it dies, it's a 1/1. I mean, it's a 2 bodies for 4 mana, that's okay with a flyer, but I don't think it's enough.
No.
So, because it has to die before you get a 1/1, and then you're not really doing much.
No. And just the 1/1 flyers, just I don't think it's enough.
Exactly, just put it aside.
Next card, we have Iron Tread Crusher. For 4 generic, we get a 6/6 vehicle with crew 3. Now, once again, crew 3 is also realistic that we should be able to get it, especially around the time when we can cast this, because it's 4 mana. And a 6/6 is insanely huge. If we looked at the rest of the cards, there's almost nothing that is this powerful, especially with this kind of toughness as well, and you're going to be able to attack with impunity. So I think definitely tier 2, just pop it in any deck, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So next one, Reservoir Walker. It's a 5 mana 3/3 construct, and when Reservoir Walker enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and you gain 3 energy. So 5 mana 3/3, not really fond of, but the 3 life not that relevant either, but the 3 energies pretty nice. And I think because you get everything for the 5 mana, it's a tier 3, it's a decent filler card. If you have something better, sure, but you'll get the energy, you'll probably be able to use it, so that's nice.
Yeah, I think it's probably low tier 3 for me. I think at 5 mana I'd be looking to do something a little bit more impressive than this. But yeah, if you could put it, especially if you're trying to go 3 colors or something, for example, then this could is a little bit easier to cast as well. Next card is Prize Fighter Construct for 5 generic. We get a 6/2. That's it, just vanilla. Just put this card aside. You may think, oh, but 6, you guys said that 6 is the biggest thing. Yeah, 6 in power is very nice, but the problem is because it has toughness 2, it's going to trade with pretty much everything. And when you're attacking with it, you cannot use this thing effectively to attack, and you're paying 5 mana for it. And the thing it's going to trade with, they probably only paid 2.
Exactly. I
Not a
mean,
good deal.
we've seen a lot of 1-drops that have enough power to kill this thing. So yeah, that's why. So Foundry Assembler, 5 mana 3/3 with Improvise. So you can get it for cheaper, but you're paying like 4 mana for 3/3. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, you're paying 4 mana, 5 mana for 3/3. Just put it aside because you'll probably have something better.
Yeah, you'll probably think to yourself, hey, but you know, later on, turn 5 or maybe turn earlier, I'm gonna have all these artifacts and I'm gonna be able to play it for free. But it's just not gonna happen. You're not gonna have that much, so you're probably just gonna get for 1 cheaper. And just the fact that it's vanilla is not good enough on a 3/3.
Yeah, and if you have it later in the game, then you have enough mana left,
Yeah.
most likely. So that's why.
It's not helping.
I mean, I like the Westfall Walker way better.
Agreed. Well, though that is the last of the commons, let's have a look at the uncommons.
The first uncommon is Ornithopter, a 0 mana 0/2 Thopter with flying. It's an Ornithopter. It's a free creature, but it doesn't do anything except for improvise. So just put it aside.
Yeah, exactly. You may think, oh, there's going to be so many cool ways you can abuse it. And in Constructed, it's true, but in Limited, I don't think you're going to be able to get a lot of value out of it.
No.
Next card, Pacification Array for a generic with an artifact, which allows to pay 2 generic, tap it to tap target artifact or creature. Now, this is super versatile. This is going to keep your opponent's bottom tapped and not attacking you or blocking you. It can stop their artifacts, vehicles, for example, from doing good stuff. So it's really going to be able to get you out of a lot of sticky situations, and I'm a big fan of this.
Exactly, and you put it on 1 mana, and then you can also improvise if you don't want to tap something.
Good point.
So that's nice.
Tier 2, just pop it in any deck, you'll be fine.
So Consulate Dreadnought, a 1 mana 7/11 vehicle, but it has crew 6. And that is a lot. I mean, if you have 6 power, then you're tapping them all to crew a 7 power vehicle with a big butt, okay, but still you're gaining 1 power on over it. Is that worth it? And I don't think so.
No, not for the extra card slot.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So just put it aside.
Exactly. It would be nice to have it with the red enchantment, which turns it into a vehicle, but you know. If you got 4 of each, then you're sitting pretty. Next one, Servo Schematic for 2 generic is an artifact, and when this thing enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, we get to create a 1/1 Servo artifact creature token. We think, but it's for this thing I'm going to get 2 of those guys, but it's also situational. You don't know when you're getting it. Other than that, it's just sitting there doing nothing. I think just put the card aside.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time you're just paying 2 mana for 1/1, and that's just not what you want. Winding Constructor, black and a green, it's a 2/3 snake, and if 1 or more counters will be placed on an artifact or creature you control, that many of those counters plus 1 are placed on a permanent instead, and if you get 1 or more counters, you get that many counters plus 1 instead. So the counters on a permanent or counters on you get just 1 extra every time you get 1 or multiple. So it's already a 2/3 4/2, so that's already nice, and the counters are just extra. So if you're black and green, just play this. It's a decent filler. I mean, it isn't great, and you have to have counters.
I think if you're in black and in green, then it's an auto include though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And for the rest, it's just a decent filler. If you know, black and green is still not the greatest.
No, that's true. Next, we have Hidden Stockpile for a white and a black. So for 2 mana, we get an enchantment with Revolt. So if we lost something of ours this turn, we get to create a 1/1 colorless servo creature artifact token. Also, we can pay a mana to sacrifice a creature and then scry 1. So this thing, of course, replaces itself because when you sacrifice that servo that you created, it triggers Revolt, and then we get to do it again next turn. So that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty versatile.
I really like this one because it gives you a way to trigger Revolt, and it gives you more creatures to trigger Revolt again.
Yeah.
And then it squash. So I really like this one.
Very good, yeah. And if you just leave it there and people are destroying your stuff, then it's giving you little guys, and otherwise you're getting you're scrying. It does a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
This is a very, and also for 2 mana, it was a great deal.
Yeah.
Definitely tier 2.
So next one, Clockwork Assembler. 3 mana, 2/3 assembly worker. For 7 mana, you can create a token that's a copy of target artifact. The token gains haste, exiled at the beginning of the next end step. So for 7 mana, you make a copy of our artifact. But how many things will you really copy that's worth 7 mana? And I don't think that's enough. I mean, for 7 mana, you can create another copy of this one on instant speed. So you can surprise blocker, I guess. So that's why tier 3, I mean, 2/3 body for 3 isn't bad.
Yeah. It's cool that it doesn't have to be your artifact.
Yeah.
But still, 7 is just a bit too steep. Also because the token doesn't stay, because you have to exile at the beginning of the next end step as well. Next card we have is Daredevil Dragster for 3 generic. We get a 4/4 vehicle. States that at the end of combat, if this thing attacked or blocked this combat, put a velocity counter on it, and then when it has 2 or more velocity counters, we have to sacrifice it. But we do get to draw 2 cards, which is pretty cool. And crew 2, which is very realistic. I think this is a decent filler card. The fact that you can only really attack or block with it twice before it bites the dust is unfortunate. But then again, you did attack, for example, twice with a 4/4, which is pretty decent. And on top of that, we get those 2 cards. So it not only replaces itself, it gives us an extra card. So I think it's a very decent filler card. I think up high on the I don't think it's an auto include, but close.
Yeah, I actually really like this one because 3 mana, 4/4, crew 2, and sacrifice to go 2 cards. That's really nice.
Yeah, sure.
So next one, Wildfast Engineer. A generic black and a red. It's a 2/3 human artificer. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, target artifact creature you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. So already a 3/3 for 3 is decent, and you can give something +2/+0, and we've seen that that's actually a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, tier 2 for me.
Yeah, definitely auto include if you're in those colors, and if you don't have any vehicles, then you're still fine. You can still play it.
Yeah,
it's still very playable.
I mean, we've seen couple artifact creatures anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Next card is Renegade Rallier for 1, a green and a white. So for 3 mana we get a 3/2, so the body's fine. It's Human Warrior. It's got Revolt, so again, when we lost something, then we get to return target permanent card with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to our battlefield. So we get nice little card advantage there. You get to return something. This is one of those cards which is really good because, once again, early, you've got a fine body. Late, it's going to be getting us value by getting us a card back from the graveyard and putting it back onto the battlefield. So not even back into our hand.
No, and
very
that's
strong.
Really nice. Yeah.
Very strong. Tier 2, always included.
Renegade Wheelsmith. 1 and a red and a white. A 3/2 dwarf pilot. And whenever Renegade Wheelsmith come tapped, target creature cannot block this turn. So when he attacks or crews, something cannot block on turn. So that's actually really nice. It's a 3/2, that's really nice. So tier 2 for me.
Absolutely. We've seen this kind of effect before with creatures, white creatures usually, that they attack and they can tap target creature, for example. It's kind of the same idea. Very nice. Somebody usually has something which stops you from attacking, and if you can get that thing out of the way, then that's super sweet.
Exactly.
Next we have Rogue Refiner for 1, a green and a blue. So for 3 mana we get a 3/2 human rogue. Once again, body's fine for the price. Enters the battlefield, draw a card, and you get 2 energy counters. That is a really, really nice bonus. That is high tier 2. Always included. It's not going to be winning you the game, but you're pretty much getting this thing for free, and plus some extra energy on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, a 3/2 for 3 isn't that bad, and you draw a card, and you get 2 energy in. That's just really nice.
Pushed, yeah, very nice.
Tezzeret's Touch. 1 blue and a black. It's Enchantment Aura, Enchant Artifact. Enchant Artifact is a creature with base power, toughness, 5/5, in addition to its other types. And when Enchant Artifact is put into a graveyard, turn that card to its own hand. So you can enchant any artifact you control, and it's a 5/5. And when the artifact dies, it comes back into your hand. So you're not actually 2-for-1ing yourself. You're just getting extra uses out of your artifact, which will be a 5/5 too.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. So that's why tier 2.
Yeah, this card is actually, I think, really strong. It's especially good. You may think, I'm going to put it on my big fat thing to protect it. I actually would like to play it on one of those 1 mana, 2 mana artifacts that don't do anything except when they die, you draw your card, because you turn that thing early game into a 5/5. On turn 3, you could already be attacking with a 5/5, and then should they remove it, we get to draw a card and get that card back, and then we're going to play that card again and maybe sacrifice for another card. So you're going to be getting tons and tons of value. A very, very strong card. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Next card, Crackdown Construct for 4 generic. We get a 2/2 construct. I don't really like the power and toughness we get for this price, but whenever you activate an ability of an artifact or creature that isn't a mana ability, Crackdown Construct gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Sure, I think in Constructed there's plenty of ways that we can abuse this, for example with abilities that cost 0 to activate. In Limited, I don't think you're going to be able to do this very much. You may be able to activate it once or something and people will see it coming a mile away. I would say just put it aside. I think this is better reserved for Constructed.
Exactly. I mean, you're still paying 4 mana for 2/2 and then you have to do stuff. So yeah, just too much. Untethered Express. 4 mana, 4/4 vehicle with trample. And when Untethered Express attacks, put a 1/1+1/+1 counter on it. So every single turn you attack, it just grows and grows. And with trample. And it has cool 1. So that's really nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, I already said the 4/4 tramples, I really like those. For 4 mana, generic mana with a cool 1. This one is really good and I'm really happy with this.
I cannot imagine anybody not wanting to play with the Rhino Train because it will do tons and tons of damage and just doesn't matter what color you're playing. Just put it in and be happy because you'll always get a very strong attacker out of it, dealing tons and tons of damage.
Exactly. So yeah,
so nice.
Good tier 2.
And the art is great as well.
Yeah,
it's cool. Next card is Treasure Keeper for 4 generic with a 3/3 construct. Okay, so now the body's a little bit more decent for what we're paying. And when this guy dies, we get to reveal cards from the top of our library until we reveal a non-land card with converted mana cost 3 or less. And we may cast that card without paying its mana cost. And then we put the rest of those cards on the bottom in a random order. So essentially for 4 mana, we get a 3/3 body plus another something, which is 3 mana or less. That's pretty sweet. It doesn't have to be a permanent either. So you can just cast those removal spells or whatever. You're always going to get something decent out of this, I think.
Yeah.
So tier 2, just if you're playing Magic, you should put it in. Right?
Exactly. I mean, it's a decent body which just gives you extra. What more do you want?
Yeah, and I can already imagine when you're attacking with this, people think, well, I can kill it. But do I want to kill it? Because they might have something that's even nastier that they're going to reveal. They're going to cast it for free. I'll just take the 3 damage. And then you're also happy.
Exactly.
Right?
Outland Boar. It's a 2 red and a green. It's 4/4 Boar, and Outland Boar cannot be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So it has to be blocked by bigger things. It cannot be chunked. So that's really nice. So for me, it's a tier 2. I mean, 4 mana, 4/4 is nice. It's a summation. So yeah.
It's kind of like a trample creature, you know, 4/4 trampler, kind of.
Yeah, because it cannot be chopped.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very strong. Just the power and toughness is amazing. Yeah. Always included if you're in those colors. And if you got a couple of these cards, maybe you should be looking at the other red and green cards. Next card is Spire Patrol for 2, a white and a blue. So for 4 mana, we get a 3/2 flyer. On top of that, when it enters, we get to tap target creature an opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during their controller's next untap step. So we get to knock something out for when we attack, and they won't be able to attack with us next turn either. On top of that, we've of course got 3 power in the air, which we discussed already is very strong in this set, and is going to be doing tons of damage. Tier 2.
Exactly. Maverick Top Twist. 3 a blue and a red. It's a 2/2 human artificer with improvise. And when Maverick Top Twist enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colors top the artifact creatures with flying. So for 5 mana, you get 2 power body on the ground and 2 1/1s in the air. So they're actually really nice. The 1/1s in the air also really nice. And for 5 mana with improvise. So 4 mana maybe. That's pretty nice.
Very good deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely tier 2. And the last of the uncommons is Barricade Breaker for 7 generic. We get a 7/5 Juggernaut with Improvise, and also this guy attacks each combat if able. So that's the downside. However, when you have a 7/5, why are you not attacking each combat? So it shouldn't be too much of a downside. 7 is a bit high. The Improvise might bring it down a notch. Even if it brings it down to 6, I think it's still pretty good filler for your late game. If you don't have something that's even, if you don't have one of those mythic demons or whatever, then this is a fine filler for your end game bomb.
Exactly. I mean, if you need something big, this is big.
Very, very big. Absolutely. Okay, those are the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares.
The first rare is Spire of Industry. It's a land and you can tap it to add 1 colorless to your mana pool, but you can also tap it and pay 1 life to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. But you can only activate this ability if you control an artifact. So late game it will be mana fixing, but early game it will just tap for colorless. So it's not too bad. And I think that the mana fixing is important enough to put it in a tier 2.
Yeah, exactly. Just include it. Just giving you the colorless mana should be fine. Right?
Exactly. And that's why I would, because it's a land, that's why I wouldn't mind paying it, because you wouldn't actually lose a card slot.
True. I find it kind of weird though that you have to have an artifact and you have to pay 1 life to get that color that you want. I think it's a bit excessive, but you know, just pop it in. It's not going to hurt you while you're playing.
Well, it will hurt you.
Okay, fair enough. And then we've got Walking Ballista for X and X. We get a 0/0 artifact construct. This guy enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, so you basically have to pay twice as much as the size of that you want this creature to be. You can also pay Force later on in the game, and then put a +1/+1 counter on this guy, and we can also remove a +1/+1 counter from this guy to deal 1 damage to our creature or player. So it's like early game, we're paying 2 mana to get a 1/1, and then later on, turn 4, we can make it into a 2/2, and then next turn again. But remember that we're paying a lot of mana for those +1/+1 counters. I do like the fact that if somebody would want to remove it and destroy it, because you did get it very big, then you can just say, okay, well, I'm just going to remove all the +1/+1 counters from it and then deal X damage to target creature or to your face. So that gives it a little bit of versatility, but I just think it's just never going to be that big. I think you may overcommit to it to get it really big, and then you're going to get blown out. So I would say tier 3 as a filler. If you got something better, maybe that's the way to go.
I like it better because you can actually use the counters to kill other stuff, and you won't actually be blown away with the removal, because
you can still use it. Yeah, you're right. It's not a complete
so,
blot. You're absolutely
but
right.
Still, it's not that great. I mean, like I said before with the other card, 4 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I really like that effect. David doesn't really that much, but later game I think it will do more. But yeah, you have to get pretty late game for that. Yeah, so that's why.
And on top of that, it's a filler card, but because of the XX in the cost, you can use it as a filler early or as a filler late. Yeah. So it does have, you'll probably will find a spot that it can fill out.
Exactly. Next one, Hope of Gearpur. It's 1 mana, 1/1 legendary Topter, and with flying. And you can sacrifice Hope of Gearpur until your next turn. Target player who was dealt combat damage by Hope of Gearpur this turn can cast non-creature spells. So if you do combat damage with it, with flying, and it's a 1 mana, so that's pretty easy, then you can sacrifice it, and then until the next turn, target player cannot play any non-creature spells, which is pretty cool. Except in limited, it's a 1/1 for 1 flying, not too great. I mean, 1 damage for flying, sure, but the effect doesn't really do anything.
No, I think you don't really want to be paying for a 1/1 flyer, 1 mana. I think that's too much. On top of that, the fact that they can still cast their bombs, you know, they're big fat creatures and stuff, is just not going to stop them from winning the game, I think, when it comes to limited. So exactly. maybe Commander or something like that could have a great place. Yeah. Maybe in other formats, but in limited, it's just going to, mostly, you're going to say, oh, and I sacrifice, because you also lose it. Yeah. And then they say, oh, you can't play your awesome non-creature spells. Okay, I'll just play this fat creature, your turn. And you're thinking, did I just really pay a card and a mana to do that?
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, you won't be actually doing anything, because in limited, you probably want to play a lot of creatures anyways.
Exactly, yeah. Oath of Ayani is next for green and a white. So for 2 mana, we get a legendary enchantment, and then when this thing enters the battlefield, we get a +1/+1 counter for each creature you control. So they all get a +1/+1 counter. That's pretty cool. And planeswalker spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast, because of course you can have tons and tons of planeswalkers. Probably not going to be relevant. But you know what? To give all your creatures a +1/+1 counter for 2 mana, I don't think that's that bad. Just if you are in white and green, then you should definitely include it. If you've got a bunch of these, maybe not that handy because it's a legendary enchantment.
Yeah.
So this is not something you're going to be looking at if you got a ton of these. Not that you will, but if just one, look at your green and your white to see if you got some of the better stuff.
I mean, we're actually just playing it as a sorcery either way.
Sure.
Because unless you have planeswalkers, then the legendary clause will be relevant. Else, you just have a sorcery speed +1/+1 counters on everything.
Absolutely
you
right. So actually, if you do have 2 of these, then it does push me more into white and green because you can actually play both of them.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. Good point.
So next one, Metallic Mimic. 2 mana, a 2/1 shapeshifter. As Metallic Mimic enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, and as Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So in limited, it's pretty difficult to have certain archetypes, but you'll probably have a couple cards that have the same creature type, and that's why I like it as a filler, because it doesn't do enough to say tier 2, but as a tier 3 it has just the extra things, because you have a couple creatures late game, just play it, get an extra counter on it, and else you don't, it's a still 2/1 for 2.
Yeah, you won't feel bad about that too much. Just
Yeah.
a filler, but don't try and jump around any hoops to play it. Then we have Scrap Trawler for 3 generic. You get a 3/2 construct, and then when this guy or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, we get to return to our hand target artifact card in our graveyard with converted mana cost that is less. So it would have to be 1, 0, 1, or 2. So it does it twice, which is pretty nice. So when it comes in, or well, sorry, not twice. It's when this guy dies or something else. So if you got your other stuff dying, you also get stuff coming back, and I think that could actually be a lot of fun if you get a lot of artifacts that are cheaper.
Exactly.
Question is, do you want a lot of those? I don't know. Filler is fine just because already for the fact that for 3 mana you get a 3/2 that's good enough to warrant the potential includement there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it just has upside, and that's just nice.
Fair enough. Yeah, sure.
Aether Spear Harvester. It's a 3 mana 3/5 vehicle with flying, and when it enters the battlefield you get 2 energy counters, and you can pay 1 energy counter and it gains lifelink until end of turn, and a crew 1. So like we said before, crew 1 is really nice, especially for 3 mana a 3/5 with flying, and you get 2 energy and you can pay energy to give it lifelink, and I think this will be really good and will win you the games. So a really good tier 2 for me.
Yeah. So normally, of course, the best card that's colorless will be tier 2. However, you could also see this. I mean, it's tier 2, but you could also see this tier 1 because it's gonna win you. It's gonna win you the game if you've got this card. So it's tier 2, auto included, but as it's colorless, it's auto included in everything. So just keep that in mind. Next is Inspiring Statuary for 3 generic with an artifact, and it says that non-artifact spells you control have, or you cast have improvise. So that's kind of a nice little bonus. I don't know if you're going to be able to get tons and tons of value out of it, because you may think, okay, now I can play all the non-artifacts, so I don't need all the artifacts. But remember, you still need the artifacts to do the improvise. So you're going to have to look for a good balance between that. Good little filler card, but I wouldn't push it higher than that.
No, because you're actually playing this, and then you have to play other things after that, and you have to have artifacts, and you have non-artifacts, so it will be a bit difficult, but doesn't mean it's not a bad card.
Worst case scenario, you can play no other artifacts, play this one, and then essentially every turn you can have one of your non-artifacts be 1 generic cheaper.
Yeah, so it will at least be a mana walk.
Yeah,
So
it's okay.
yeah. So next one, Dark Intimations. It's 2 blue, black, and a red sorcery. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, then discards a card. You return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand and draw a card, which not bad at all. And next text isn't actually relevant in limited because there won't be any Bolas planeswalker card. But yeah, when you cast a bonus Planeswalker spell, exile Dark Intimations from your graveyard, that Planeswalker enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it.
Completely irrelevant. But
exactly.
This card is a 4-card difference in advantage, so that is super sick. The question is, are you going to be able to play blue, black, and red?
I don't think so. It will be difficult.
I think so too, but it's quite an affordable mana cost.
Exactly
what you're getting. So that's tier 2. If you are in those colors, then just auto include it.
I mean, we always try to play 2 colors in limited. Not that I actually do that, but
you try, but you don't. But it's cool. But you're wrong. All right, next card is Heart of Kiran.
Those were actually the rares.
Those are actually the rares. You're absolutely right. Okay, well we'll have to go to the mythics now. Our first mythic card is Heart of Kiran for 2 generic with a 4/4 flying vigilance with crew 3. On top of that, you may remove a loyalty counter from a planeswalker you control rather than pay its crew cost. Okay, so let's ignore that last part and just see it as a 4/4 flying vigilance for crew 3, which I think is very, very affordable, and that for only 2 mana. This card is definitely tier 2 because you want to include it in every deck. It doesn't matter, just pop it in. It's going to get you lots and lots of value. It'll win you the game.
Exactly. And Kiran has a really big heart, a 4/4.
That is a very big heart, absolutely.
So next one, Tezzeret the Schemer. It's 2 a blue and a black. It's a Planeswalker Tezzeret. It starts with 5 loyalty and it's +1. Create a colorless artifact token named Ethereum Cell with tap. Sacrifice the artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So it mana ramps you, mana fixes you with +1. So that's pretty nice. It gets a artifact on the table. And -2 is target creature gets +X, -X, alternative turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. So this is removal. You will need to have some artifacts. The +1 gives you some artifacts. And the -7,
actually, it's not only removal, because as it's +X, -X, you could use it a little bit earlier in the game, maybe to pump one of your bigger creatures.
Exactly. Yeah. But you have to watch out because it's the -X.
Yeah.
So the -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your combat, on your turn, target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 5/5. So something becomes a 5/5 at the beginning of your combat, a creature, other artifact. It doesn't say until end of turn, which means if you just play a lot of artifacts, they will grow and grow and grow your army, and that's really nice. Especially with the +1, you're gonna get a 5/5 Ethereum Cell.
Pretty sweet.
Exactly.
Alright, awesome. Well, that's just tier 1, isn't it?
I mean, there's really not many planeswalkers that aren't tier 1.
Exactly.
So just tier 1.
Fair enough. Alright, the next card is Paradox Engine for 5 generic. We get a legendary artifact that states that whenever we cast a spell, we get to untap all non-land permanents we control. So that's pretty cool. I mean, in something like Commander, that's insane. In Limited, however, I still say auto-included. Why? Because what you can do is you can have your turn, this thing's on the battlefield, you attack with all your creatures, and then you play your creature for the turn in your second main phase, and as that's a spell, then all your creatures in that case would untap, and then they basically had Vigilance. So even in the worst case scenario, you're still getting that, which is quite a lot of value.
Yeah, and with instance, you just surprise untap everything.
Yeah.
So that's really nice, and
Nasty.
I already always love those untap a creature, give it plus something, so that's just really nice.
People are not expecting that.
Exactly.
Very good, just include it.
So we have another Planeswalker, Ajani Unyielding. 4 a green and a white. It's a Ajani Planeswalker, 4 loyalty, and +2, reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put all non-land permanent cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it will draw you cards with the +2, and the -2, exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. The life gaining, of course, that's pretty relevant, but you remove the bomb or whatever, and that's just so nice.
True.
And the -9, put 5 +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and 5 loyalty counters on each other planeswalker you control. So the loyalty on other planeswalker won't be really relevant, but +5 +1/+1 counters on every single creature you control, that will just outright win you the game.
Exactly, but then again, how many ultimates of planeswalkers don't win you the game?
That is true. I mean, like
Tezzeret?
The Tezzeret and Ajani, those are pretty easily done.
Yeah.
Tezzeret is just 2 turns, and Ajani, yeah, it is 3 turns.
Okay, but still very strong.
Exactly.
And you're doing great stuff in the meantime as well.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just waiting.
No, both of them have a lot of loyalty, and they start with 5, goes to 6. This one starts with 4, also goes to 6.
Sick, yeah, awesome. So just include it. Tier 1.
Exactly, just tier 1. If you draw it, get this, probably try to play it.
Try your best.
Yeah.
Don't disappoint us. The next card is Planar Bridge for 6 mana. It's a legendary artifact which allows us to pay 8 and tap it to search our library for a permanent card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle our library. So in essence, it allows us to tutor and cast something for free, which is insane. However, you are paying 6 and then you're paying 8, which I think is just a little bit too much to be handy in limited. I think because that's 2 turns of late game that you're not doing anything. I think by then maybe you're getting your butt handed to you. Could be wrong. I would say put it aside. Steven, what do you think?
Because like you said before, it's 2 turns. You have to play it on turn 6 to not lose even more, and then turn 7 do something. Turn 8 search for your bomb if you didn't already have it. Yeah. So if you don't have more bombs or anything to search, you're paying 8 mana to put something mediocre on the table, and that's not worth it.
And also in limited, of course, you do have a lot of mana in the end, but it still takes a long time to get from 5 to 6 takes a long time, from 6 to 7 takes much longer, and then from 7 to 8 takes even longer than that. So you have to remember that you know, maybe by the end of the game you'll be able to do it, but it won't. You may not survive that long.
Exactly, and that's why, because of the 2 turns too, and just too late, and that's why I just put it aside, because it's too risky.
Play it in Commander though.
Of course.
Yeah.
I certainly will.
Alright, what's the last card?
Gonti's Aether Heart. 6 mana legendary artifact. When Gonti's Aether Heart or another artifact enters the battlefield from 0 control, you get 2 energy counters. And you can pay 8 energy counters, exile Gonti's Aether Heart, and take an extra turn after this one. So for 6 mana, you get 2 energy counters, and then you can pay 8 energy counters to get an extra turn. It's just a lot of energy, and just put it aside.
It's, once again, this is one of those cards which is so situational. You say, oh yeah, but if I have this and I got all these 10 little artifacts, and then later I can do that. But you know what, if you're going so heavy into that strategy, okay, so you got an extra turn and then you drew another one of those 2 mana artifacts, and then what? You know, you still need, if you want to go heavy with this, you're not going to have enough cards to make it be, you're going to be able to play it reliably in getting that extra turn.
Exactly.
So just put that card aside. Those are the Mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, I think these colorless and multicolored cards are really, really good. A little bit light in the common department. They're not too strong. Uncommons, insanely strong, especially as we saw those the multicolored ones. All of them are very good. Those of you who are not unhappy playing any of them. And of course, those Mythics are sometimes hit and miss. Some of them are really good in limited, other ones are really not good in limited. So it really depends what you draw. I think look very carefully to those multicolored cards, because those are going to be, you get a lot of value out of those.
Yeah, and the vehicles are just really nice.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, I really like the vehicles. And yeah, like we saw, the commons aren't that great, uncommons and rares are just really good.
Yeah, also be careful when you're playing too many vehicles. You still need stuff to crew them, so don't fall into that accident of filling your deck with vehicles and then not be able to crew them. But just 2 or 3 splashed in there, very, very nice. You can have a very strong deck with that. Also, don't forget to subscribe, because you'll get to know when we post out new videos. You get the edge during your set releases. We also do deck techs and the other kinds of videos, top 5 lists, etc. Just check out all those other videos. Also join us on Facebook and Twitter so we can discuss these cards. Let us know if you agree, let us know if you disagree. And that's it. So thanks for watching. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
This is Budget MTG Decks.